All right, the Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting for July 29th, 2025 of the City of Panama City is hereby called to order. Reverend Dr. Thomas was caught up in out of town, so we're going to have the Reverend Rufus Wood, Senior Pastor of the Love Center Baptist Church, do our invocation this morning, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Assistant City Manager Brandy Waldron. Would you please stand? What now? Let's do it. Good morning.
Let us pray. Father, to you we stretch our hands because we realize there is no other help that we know. And God, we come to you because you have been our help in ages past, and you are our hope for years to come. And now, God, as we enter into your holy presence, we come with adoration, always to declare and affirm our love for you. We love you with all of our hearts, our souls, our minds, and our strength. Not only with adoration, but God, we come with appreciation. We come today to say thank you because you told us in everything to give thanks unto you, for it is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning us. And then you told us to enter into your gates with thanksgiving. So before we ask you for anything, we pause today to say thank you. Thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you now, God, that you've allowed us to come together in this place. Now, God, we thank you for the United States of America. Thank you for this country. And we pray, oh God, that you would ever remind us that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. We thank you, Lord, for our government, the federal, the state, and even this local government. Thank you for our mayor. Thank you for our commissioners. And even today in their capacity as CRA board members, we pray, God, that you be with them, guide them and direct them. We pray, God, that you would give them ears, Lord, that they can listen and hear the concerns and the needs of the people. We pray, God, that you would open up their minds, oh God, that they can be able to comprehend. And then, Lord, we pray that you would open up their hearts, that they will be able to receive and be able to act and be a blessing to the people in this community. And now, God, as always, we would pray that you would go above and beyond our prayer, because you're able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the mighty power that works in us. This is our prayer in the matchless, marvelous, majestic, miraculous, and mighty name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus the Christ, we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will just note that Board Member Hughes and Board Member Street are both out of town. They will participate virtually and be able to participate in any deliberation and discussion, but will not be able to vote or make motions or second motions. Ms. Sagehorn, would you please call the roll?
Board Member Lucas?
Present.
Board Member Granger?
Present.
Chairman Branch?
Present.
3 present.
We have a quorum with 3 present. Board members, item number 4, you have the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 CRA board meeting. Staff would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 5 is additions, deletions, and modifications to today's agenda. Are there any from staff or from the board members? Hearing none, moving on to item number 6, which is audience participation. This is open to any issue related to the Panama City CRA's authority. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Please come to the podium. Again, these are items only related to the Panama City CRA's authority.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
How are you?
They're still commissioners. Good afternoon, CRA board commissioners, all that you stand for. Good afternoon. Thank you. What did you say, Jonathan?
I said good afternoon because apparently I said good morning earlier.
Yes, you did.
So,
Maybe
it's morning somewhere.
Well, that's like, what's his name says it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So anyway, however that may go.
Don't get us started.
I won't. Brenda Lewis Williams, 1007 North Center Avenue. I have several concerns of what's on this agenda today. My biggest one is a conversation you all had, I think, the last CRA meeting. I would like to submit that any employee who has been an employee of Panama City CRA, that once they resign, terminate employment, they are barred from doing business with the city, minimum 5 years, maximum 7. That only makes sense to me. It happened.
Which item are you speaking to, Ms. Lewis Williams?
It's primarily, well, can I speak to anything?
Yes, I'm just curious if there's an item with the.
This, I said from the last meeting when we were talking about the breezeway,
Got it.
okay? And there was an employee who was a principal. So that employee should not be permitted, or any employee who has left the employ of the city permitted, minimum 5, maximum 7 years. This is a standard across the industry, by the way. But also, I would also like to suggest that we take the meetings back to 5 o'clock because, so people can attend. People still at work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Additionally, some of these projects that are proposed, Millville, Concrete Path, et cetera, which is a sidewalk if I'm not mistaken, is it not? But anyway, though that has been taken care of with House Bill 9087, I believe, that we've tried to make into Beach Drive. That bill specifically states that those monies are for sidewalks. Something was explained to me, so I don't need to address that. I think it would behoove the board to explain to the citizens what the boardwalk in St. Andrews is for. And additionally, I only have 57 minutes, but I'm asking that it seems like that went by too fast. But additionally, the bicycle training or whatever it's called, those funds need to go to the Boys and the Girls Club. Because, may I have 1 more minute?
Does anyone wish to make a motion to extend her time?
Okay.
Please proceed, ma'am.
The Boys and Girls Club has been a mainstay in this city for 65 years, and a bike path and it's better served. CRA says that the monies are supposed to be used for childcare, affordable housing, and additional services in the city. So those monies need to be redirected to the Boys Club, Chapman unit, actually.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis Williams.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
She said house bills. 987.
Something. She was there. What they're doing for me. I believe apparently not the beach drive. So it's whatever. It's mine.
All right, to the CRA board members, I am Rufus Wood, 1911 East 10th Street. Community is the sole reason which local government exists. And of course, today you in your capacity as members of the CRA board, and from my understanding, the purpose of the CRA is to eliminate blight and slum from our communities. I want to submit today that we need a community vision for the revitalization of our community, and we're particularly speaking of the Glenwood community, in order to revitalize our community and rebuild the lives of the people in the community. Of course, I'm a preacher, so when I think about building, I think about Nehemiah, who had a very strong vision for the people of God in the city of Jerusalem. When we think about the word vision is the act or power to imagine. And so I want to submit that we all need to be visionary, and as a community, we ought to have a shared community. When we talk about vision, it is not the capacity to see what is, but rather the ability to see what can be. So we're asking for you to join us in this vision of a better, a brighter, a safer, and more just community for the Glenwood community. We know that a vision has been put before you, and we believe that vision is essential. So we're asking that you would please give consideration to what will be coming before you as relates to the project that will be placed on the corner of 15th Street and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. In Glenwood, we've seen a lot of tearing down of the buildings, a lot of property was purchased, but nothing has been rebuilt. So we're asking you to please join us with this shared vision. I believe Commissioner Lucas has a vision. I believe the members of our community, we have a vision, and the Sankofa group has a vision. And so we pray that you will join. I think it was Helen Keller who once said, the only thing that's worse than being blind is to have sight without vision. And I was asked that
30
question one time myself, and they say, what's worse than being blind? I said, the only thing I can think of that's worse than being blind is to have two good eyes and still can't see. So I hope that you would open your eyes by faith and see the vision. We've got a proposal before us, so let's seize the opportunity. Now is the time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Reverend Wood, and thank you for that wonderful prayer as well. All right. Any other comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Michelle Bryant, 409 East 9th Street. So what I want to talk about is a couple of things, and I believe I emailed each of you. Hopefully you got a chance to read it already. My first comment is in regards to the MLK and 15th Street project. While residents in Glenwood are eager for a grocery store, as well as some type of development in the area, I hope that in this project, if it is to move forward, that you take into consideration the economic and racial gentrification that we don't want to see happen in Glenwood, as we've seen in many cities across this not only country, but state. I ask of you to take a look at what has happened in Pensacola, Florida, as they are trying to find ways to prevent what has already started when it comes to racial and economic gentrification in an area very similar to our Glenwood community, our historic Glenwood community. While Commissioner Lucas has shared that the developer is interested in adding the commercial piece to it, the CRA, through their vision plans, Dover Coal, through their visions plan, with the support of the community, put together an outstanding vision that was where we thought we were moving forward. I ask on this particular project, if you guys can, to put it out for a rebid, to offer competitive bids so that we don't have to settle for just the one bid that actually came in and actually came in late. If in the end this is the only bid that we get, then of course move forward. I don't think anyone in the community wants to continue to see blight as well as see areas sitting under or undeveloped. The next is the CRA proposal projects for 2026. After reviewing the presentation, again, tying into the 15th Street and MLK project, while it's really nice to have pretty signs and pretty sidewalks, you can't keep putting lipstick on a pig, you guys. Glenwood needs redevelopment. We need businesses. We need homes. We need programs that can incentivize small local businesses to begin their process and being a part of the revitalization of Glenwood, Millville, and other areas. We need developments that is going to not only provide growth, but be able to put lots back on the tax rolls, which will in return increase the tax rate for the city, as well as provide more TIF dollars for the CRA program. Lastly, myself and many Glenwood residents want to say we're appreciative of the CRA looking into making the A.D. Harris facility have a more historical state registration. As well as we continue to build Glenwood, let's also protect this historical preservation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant.
Good evening. I'm Dr. John Haley, 601 Cactus Avenue. My primary concern has to do with health, and I'm going to speak to that. The Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion said Black households are 2.5 times more likely to live in food deserts than white households. The study conducted by the Reinvestment Fund said 18% of predominantly Black neighborhoods lack adequate access to supermarkets, compared to just 8% of predominantly white neighborhoods. This disparity is a consequence of historical, and systematic factors that contribute to the existence of food deserts in Black communities. What are these historical and systematic factors? Supermarket redlining. That is when supermarket chains are hesitant to invest or expand in predominantly Black communities due to racial bias or false perceptions. White flight and urban disinvestment. That is when white populations move to the suburbs and supermarkets follow suit, leaving behind areas with little to no grocery options. Lending difficulties are a problem. Grocery stores in underserved communities face increased difficulties securing loans. Prevalence of convenience stores. In the absence of full-service grocery stores, residents in Black communities rely heavily on convenience stores, which primarily offer processed and unhealthy food options. The lack of access to nutritious foods in predominantly Black neighborhoods has significant health consequences. These residents experience higher rates of diseases such as hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes. Having convenience stores versus grocery stores in Black neighborhoods increase malnutrition in young children. This in and of itself creates a health crisis. We need a grocery store that offers healthier food options in Glenwood. This project will not only address housing needs, but will also address the alarming health needs billowing loudly and begging for attention in the Glenwood community. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Haley.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
Good afternoon. Hank Godwin, 918 Peel Castle Lane out of Atlanta. I am here representing Rosenwald Documentary Incorporated. Today, well, actually, a little bit of background. We have already in the winter of 2023-2024, we were able to produce a documentary, 17 and a half minutes, that focused on Rosenwald High School and their time during segregation and going into school integration. We were able to premiere our project at Redfish Film Festival in 2024. Since then, we have gotten some very positive feedback from community members and folks up in Atlanta that would like to see more information. We are looking to extend our project into a 1-hour presentation. Right now, we are requesting funding from the CRA, $65,000 to help us get to that point, to be able to expand our project and get out and market it towards people. What we would like to do ultimately is get this information available to Panama City through the public library, through government programs, through schooling, so that more people can be informed and updated on Panama City history. So far, we have already filmed actually some people around the community, some people that are here this evening in the room with us, but there's so much more we can do. We have an event coming up in January of 2026 out at FSU Panama City campus that we will hopefully be premiering our 1-hour presentation for everybody. I invite all of you to come out and participate with us. It will be a red carpet event, tuxedos, evening gowns, please. This is important because not a lot of people are really aware of Rosenwald's history. I'm sure most of you know a lot of information has been lost due to various reasons, things being thrown out, Hurricane Michael, things happen. And currently we are losing our living historians day by day. So it is important that we are able to record this history before we have nothing else to pull from and learn from. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Any other public comments? All right. Seeing none, public comment for today's meeting is now closed. All right. I don't know if the board would like to make any comments following any of those remarks. All right, moving on to item number 7. Item number 7 is consideration and approval of a development agreement with the Sankofa Group for the Glenwood Town Center project. As background information, at the April 15th, 2025 CRA board meeting, the Sankofa Group presented a proposal for the redevelopment of a CRA-owned parcels located at MLK Boulevard and 15th Street, the southwest corner. The proposed project, named the Glenwood Town Center, was submitted following the close of the public notice period required under Florida statutes governing the disposal of any CRA property. As a result, the board voted for staff to begin negotiations with the Sankofa Group for a potential purchase or a public-private partnership. In addition to several meetings held with staff and representatives of the Sankofa Group to shape the proposed development agreement, including provisions for a performance matrix, reverter clause, purchase price, and project timeline, a public workshop was conducted on June 5th of 2025 to gather community input. Mr. Pedro Gasant of the Sankofa Group participated in the workshop, presenting the Glenwood Town Center concept to approximately 60 community members and responding to questions and feedback from the residents who attended. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with strong support expressed for moving the project forward. Staff recommends approval of the development agreement as enclosed in your agenda packet this afternoon with the Sankofa Group for the Glenwood Town Center project as presented. And I'll just quickly go through some of the highlights in that. Board members, there is a summary in here that is included in your packet. It is just kind of like a 2.5 page kind of highlight of it, outlines the purpose and the background. Some of the key items and key terms that I just want to highlight briefly. The purchase price is $415,000 for 15 parcels of real property. The property condition is conveyed as is, where is, and with all faults. Required elements of the project: grocery store, apartments with a minimum of 20% being classified as affordable, which is restricted to 80% of the area median income of Bay County, Florida, and also townhomes. I will note the developer desires to acquire additional property, if possible, to expand the scope of the conceptual master plan and more fully develop the Glenwood Neighborhood Town Center area. The CRA and the city does agree to assist the developer in any way possible to help acquire these additional parcels of property. There's inspection period and right to terminate is going to be 180 days from the effective date, the date the agreement is signed, and the developer has the right to terminate the agreement during the inspection period for any reason given by given written notice. There is a reversion option. If the project is not commenced within 24 months of the closing date, the CRA/city has the right to repurchase the property and any additional property from the developer at the price paid by the developer for the property, adjusted to the consumer price index if applicable. If the reversion clause option is exercised, the CRA will be entitled to retain any and all plans, drawings, surveys, environmental studies, or other pre-development documentation procured by the developer, and will reimburse the developer for any reasonable out-of-pocket expenses incurred in good faith at an amount agreed upon by both parties. The restricted covenant: the project must be consistent with the redevelopment plan. The project must contain a grocery store on the property. The project must have 20% of the apartment units restricted to households making no more than 80% of the area median income for Bay County. Again, some key timeline and milestones. Inspection period and right to terminate is 180 days from the effective date. Zoning and site approval plan approval within 18 months of the effective date. Entitlements approval defined as the later of the final zoning approvals or a date that a final site plan is approved. Plat approved, and paving or drainage approval is obtained from the city. Building permit must be obtained within 24 months from the date of the entitlements approval. Construction must commence within 90 days of the closing date. And then there are phases. A site plan will be adopted within 90 days of the execution of the agreement. The site plan will include 3 phases: the grocery store, 1, the townhome parcel, 2, and the apartment parcel, 3. The developer and the CRA do agree to adopt a timeline based on specific milestones for the start of each phase of the development. That is the summary of this proposed development agreement. And I'll just point out that Mr. Pedro Gasant has joined us virtually. I would invite him to add anything to the presentation that I presented for you today. And he is also available to answer any questions during the board's deliberation. Mr. Gasant, anything to add to the summary of the DA, sir, or development agreement? Thank you, Mr. Gasant. Board members, at this time, I'll turn it over to you, and I think it'd be appropriate to let Board Member Lucas take lead on this, given all the efforts and work that she's put in over the last many months. Board Member Lucas?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, to my colleagues on the dais and everyone who's here this afternoon. Today's opportunity has been 21 years in the making. Some of you are in the audience who were part of the group that set the original vision, and we delivered it to the CRA board in June 2004. That vision has been enhanced through meetings that have expanded it to a cultural district in the Glenwood community and reiterated with the Dover Coal Plan. So the group Sankofa has brought us a plan that has significant pieces of the vision for grocery store development. And it is a plan that doesn't check all of the boxes, but it checks some major boxes. So in addition to going through the process, which started with negotiating with a different firm in January, that group decided not to present a plan. Retail Strategies is a group that we have hired as consultants to help the city find a developer, find a grocery store for this site at MLK and 15th Street. They had a potential bidder who said, no, we'll pass on this. As has been noted, we received this proposal from Sankofa after the RFP had closed and we had no one who had proposed it. So we went back to the Amarin Group and to the Retail Strategies and asked if they wanted to, gave them a date of April 7th in preparation for a presentation on April 15th. After that process, which began in January, the Sankofa Group was the lone group standing, saying that they are ready to bring us what this community and this city has asked for and needed for the last 21 years. And in addition to that, though, I've listened to community members individually, attended group meetings, the Glenwood Revitalization Project. I've spoken at churches, and people have pulled me aside at the grocery store and so forth to share what they needed. Conducted a survey that 81 people responded. And it, again, is consistent. There are three things, and I said this at the Glenwood Revitalization Project meeting. There are three things this community has consistently asked for year after year after year. One is a grocery store. One is affordable housing. And y'all know what the third one is, right? A swimming pool. So we're working hard on two of them, and today we're making great headway with this proposal from the Sankofa Group. I saw the name of the group and immediately had the chills in a sense that we were in the right direction. For when the history of Glenwood was written and the report in 2004 was delivered, we included a reference to Sankofa, to looking back, the bird looking back while moving forward. And so that to me was an answer to a silent prayer I've had. Let us find a developer who will work with us. And so we are continuing to work with this developer and looking forward to breaking ground on the grocery store there at the corner of MLK and 15th Street, walking paces from our beloved Glenwood grocer. And so with that, I would welcome comments from my colleagues as well.
Absolutely. I'll take it. One of the pushback that we've received is that this area should stay single-family homes. And I don't think that's a reason to stop this project. Most of Glenwood is single-family homes. And this would give us some density that a grocer would need to make them hit their numbers. One of the things that I love about this group is that they're looking at this space like a third space. And their initial concepts have this sort of walking trail, pedestrian. It's not a strip mall. We can find a strip mall developer who creates a wall of commercial that's, unwalkable. And I used the example the last meeting of Publix on 23rd Street, and the neighborhoods behind it aren't walking to Publix, they're driving. And this developer's thinking about this space as more than just a strip mall. It's integrating the community into the facilities. And that's important. Since when MLK got redone by DOT and expanded it took the Main Street away. And your Main Street is your living room for people. And we don't really have that right now. And this hopefully will restore another area of gathering for people and seeing your neighbors. And then the other pushback was the grocery store and what kind of grocery store is it? And, I've said time and time again that if it's a grocery store that the neighborhood can't afford, then it's a failure of a project. And the grocery store, when you build a grocery store, you don't say, okay, our demographics we're pulling from is within 100 yards. You're pulling 2 or 3 miles. And so you're incorporating Glenwood and the Cove and part of Forest Park and potentially people who are going and working at Tyndall. And so this is a grocery that has to be able to, the products have to be affordable for all those people. And so if this was a super high-end grocery store that only cared about affluent people, they would just put it in the Cove. They wouldn't even put it on MLK. They would just say, we're just going to put it right back in the Cove where we can sell high-end groceries to affluent people. And so I don't believe that this project is going to be a grocery that the neighborhood can't afford. It's going to be one that they can't afford. I believe it. Otherwise, it fails financially for the grocer. And so I'm in favor of this project. I think this is a historic level project. We're all in these seats to do meaningful, positive work for the community. And most of the time we're getting emails about a cat in the tree. And this is a problem that is historic level, meaningful, and will change the built environment. And hopefully creates a spark of investment in that community from everyone. So I love it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Granger?
Well, how do I follow that? So one of the great privileges of being in this position is we get to decide what is the city going to look like, for the next 60 to 100 years. And this is one of those decisions that I think it's up there with the marinas. It's up there with the Civic Center. It's up there with those kinds of large decision points. And I'm in favor of this. So I think so far you've now heard that 3 of us are in favor of this agreement. So what I will say is, Mr. Gassant, you have 24 months from the date of closing before we have a reversion option. And what I would love is for y'all to sprint out of the gate. And I think you're hearing that today. I think you have the community's support in doing so. And so with that, I'll leave that as my comments. I hope to see something great and amazing here.
All right, Mr. Street, I see you're recognized, sir. Thank you, Mr. Street. And I'll just note, we are aware that there are some audio issues for those that are watching streaming, not able to hear Zoom remarks. The county and city IT staff are aware of that. So I think that was just one remark. Pedro, I would give you the opportunity to respond to the question about the CPI-U. Yep.
Just,
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gasson. I want to recognize Mr. Hughes. Go ahead, Mr. Hughes.
if I could, before Mr. Hughes starts, just to clarify that, Mr. Street, right now the agreement says consumer price index for all urban consumers, CPI-U. So we do use CPI-U. It does not have a floor or ceiling, but it's only for a 2-year period. So that's why we didn't think about putting a floor or ceiling. Right. Okay.
Mr. Hughes? I believe it's zoned correctly for what we want to do, correct, Ms. Waldron, Mr. Zimmerman? Yep, we're all set, sir. All right. All right, I think at this time it'd be appropriate to entertain a motion to approve.
It's my honor to move this motion to accept the Sankofa project to build us a grocery store, a mixed-use development at the corner of MLK and 15th Street, England.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Yep. Congratulations, Mr. Gassant. I will be giving you a call tomorrow morning.
Thank you. And thank you. And thank you to all who are present here.
All right. Item number 8 is consideration and approval for the Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by Wilson Avenue Redevelopment, LLC, and the authorization to execute a performance agreement. As background information, on June 11th, 2025, Pat Cove, on behalf of Wilson Avenue Redevelopment, LLC, submitted an application under the program for the redevelopment of 724 and 728 Magnolia Avenue, located within the CRA's Downtown North District. In accordance with the program requirement, staff reviewed the application for completeness. Following this review, the executive director completed his evaluation and provided his recommendation, determining the project meets the criteria set forth in the tax increment rebate program guidelines for an award rate determined to be 80% of eligible project cost based on the project's commercial use and the inclusion, amenities, or infrastructure improvements desired by the CRA, not to exceed $666.08, and not to exceed a duration of 15 years. Staff recommends approval of the Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by Pat Cove on behalf of Wilson Avenue Redevelopment LLC for the properties located at 724 and 728 Magnolia Avenue, and further recommends the city enter into a performance agreement at an award rate of 80%, the total award amount not to exceed $135,676.08, and a duration not to exceed 15 years. And would entertain a motion to approve.
Sure, I make a motion to approve. It's also Pat Cave, not Pat Cove.
Oh, well, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions by the board? My apologies to Pat Cave.
No, it looks like a good project.
So, all right. Seeing none, Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Item number 9 is consideration and approval for the Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by Vittles Incorporated and the authorization to execute a performance agreement. On May 24th, 2025, Jake Sostime, on behalf of Vittles Incorporated, submitted an application under the program for the redevelopment of 542 Harrison Avenue located within the CRA's downtown district. In accordance with the program requirements, staff reviewed the evaluation and provided his recommendation, determining the project meets the criteria set forth in the Tax Increment Rebate Program guidelines for an award rate determined to be 80% of eligible project cost based on the project's commercial use and the inclusion amenities or infrastructure improvements desired by the CRA, not to exceed $161,677.13, and not to exceed a duration of 15 years. Staff recommends approval of the Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by Jake Sostime on behalf of Vittles Incorporated for the property located at 542 Harrison Avenue, and further recommends that the city enter into a performance agreement at an award rate of 80% with a total award amount not to exceed $161,677.13 and a duration not to exceed 15 years. Staff would recommend a motion to approve.
A motion we approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions of staff by the board?
It's a great project. It'll bring a lot of foot traffic to downtown.
Yep, that's great. All right. Is the 2 significant, Mr. Schwartz? I don't know. Is that something that Commissioner Street's doing? All right. I'm assuming no. All right. Okay. Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll for item number 9.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, item number 10 is consideration and approval to sell CRA-owned property located at 551 East 6th Street, which is parcel number 20387-000-000 in the downtown North District. Background information: in an effort to eliminate slum and blight and promote redevelopment within the downtown North CRA District, the Panama City CRA acquired the property located at 551 East 6th Street by donation in 2025. The vacant land features 18,034 square feet, or 0.41 acres, with approximately 84 foot of frontage along the north side of 6th Street, which is Business Highway 98, and it extends approximately 215 feet in depth. To assist in determining the market value, the CRA obtained 2 independent appraisals, one from Giles Appraisal Group valuing the property at $72,000, and another one from Abbott Appraisal Associates valuing the property at $195,000. At its June 3rd, 2025 meeting, the CRA board directed staff to issue a request for proposals for the sale and redevelopment of the site in alignment with CRA plan objectives. The RFP was advertised as directed and closed on July 16th of 2025, with one proposal received from B&S Liquors Incorporated, the adjacent property owner, offering $42,500. Staff recommends approval of the sale of the CRA-owned parcel located at 551 East 6th Street, which again is parcel ID 20387-000-000, within the downtown North CRA District, to B&S Liquors for $42,500, contingent upon the execution of a development agreement requiring the purchaser to complete development of the property within 3 years. This recommendation aligns with the CRA strategic objectives to eliminate blight, promote reinvestment, and generate revenue to support ongoing revitalization efforts within the district. Staff would entertain a motion to approve as presented or with any potential adjustments. Board?
I'll make a motion to approve, but with the discussion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the recommendation proposed by staff for item number 10. Discussion, board.
Just kind of the philosophy that I believe in with the city properties that we have is we could sell them at top market rate, which is one option, and just say, whoever buys them, I hope they do something nice with the property. And we potentially have a vacant property for another 30 years. Or we say, we're willing to incentivize a developer to build something that the neighborhood wants and needs, and potentially to give them a little bit of a deal off market value to get something that we need. And what I've seen in real estate is investment follows confidence, and confidence follows a pattern of success. And so what we need in these neighborhoods is things being built so other people see the numbers and then build things. Developers typically don't build apartments and things unless there's comps, comparables. So they want to see that someone else has built something similar so they can base their rental rates off of to make sure they don't lose all their money. And so I'm in favor for this project if we can outline and the potential buyers here of what we want in the neighborhood. We had discussed laundromat, dry cleaner, something like that. I think I'd prefer laundromat. Maybe it's both, but I'm up for specifying the use of the property and selling it below market rate like we're talking about.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do apologize, Mr. Oakes, for not recognizing that you are here. The owner of the parcel beside that has made this offer, Mr. Oakes, is here. And if you'd like to add anything to what I said to the board, please feel free. Also, the board could ask any questions if needed. Any other discussion?
No, I agree. I agree that there's a huge value in encouraging first market movers to come into the marketplace, so to speak. Sometimes that means that you're not holding out for the absolute highest value that we can fetch for something, and I'm okay with that as long as something happens with it. It's going back on the tax rolls, and it's going back on the tax rolls as a non-vacant land, right? So. Yeah, I'm down. Government is not necessarily in the business of making money, even though sometimes we do try to go down that road. And in some cases, it does make sense for us to go down the road. But a CRA is not designed to be in the business of making money. It's designed to help improve blight and fix the areas of which that are inside of the CRA. And I think this achieves that goal. So I'm in favor.
Board Member Lucas, before we go to Board Member Street.
Yes, we just received one concern about the project, and that was in reference to something else happening other than the projected laundromat or other item. Just wanted to see if there was any concern from my colleagues as to whether you have a concern about that or not.
I think in the agreement we specified, we could specify even square footage if we wanted to, but the use that I'd like to see is laundromat or dry cleaner or a combination of both. Is what I'd like to see. Or a doctor's office, something like that, but.
Yeah, there's always the concern that things change once we make a decision, so I just want us to be.
With
think
that
that's
type
fair.
of can't say it, specificity, there we go. Ugh.
Not quite.
Not quite, I tried, close enough, y'all know what I mean. Is that agreeable to you, Mr. Oakes?
Yes. Jason Oakes, 301 South Cove Lane. Yes, I own the property next door, and obviously we've been improving a lot of properties since we came over here on the side of the bridge. So I think my track record speaks for itself. We will make it better, and we are already invested in the area. Both I live around the corner and own the building next door. So, and I'm a Bay High grad, and I'd love to see the area developed even further. So, and you guys are right. It takes somebody to do it to make everybody else a believer. So we're on the right track. I'd like to see all the properties done like this. This is the right path for the community. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Board Member Street?
Good. Would you like me to comment on that?
Can we let Mr. Hughes speak first, and that way you might be able to
yes,
address
thank
him.
you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hughes. Board members? And I would say, Mr. Oakes, would you agree with dropping it from 36 months to 24 months?
The timing is not very important to me as much as what the market conditions are. So we can sit here and have a crystal ball all we want. I'd love to have a laundromat. I haven't done any real true determination whether that's going to work. I know a building of some sort will work there. I believe that a laundromat will work there, but I will have to dig deeper into it. I will build something that's better than the grass that is growing there, and I will take it off your hands, and I appreciate the discount, but there's a lot of stuff for sale. And Mr. Hughes knows that too, and we're going into a declining market. So money has no home. It goes where it's welcomed. And so I want to be welcomed if I'm going to spend my money.
So if I'm hearing that you would prefer to keep,
I would agree with the 2 years, but I want some flexibility on the use. And I have no problem. I will do my due diligence within the first 30, 45 days and determine whether the laundromat's feasible. There's a lot more to it than just writing a check.
understood. Mr. Hughes?
Excuse me.
Well, one of the things that you should probably consider, Mr. Hughes, is that the only person that can maximize that site is me, because I'll have to, and which means I'm probably the one that can probably use the site the best. And so I do have a little leverage there. And so I do want to build something there, and I do appreciate the discount. I have no problem with the 2 years, but if you want me to be definitive about exactly what the use is going to be, then we need to go ahead and figure that out on the front side before we waste a bunch of Mr. Zimmerman's time. I would need some time to determine whether that's an up or down for me.
And I'd like to share that in talking about the Sankofa project.
Yes, ma'am.
The 3 years that's in your agreement came up, and what we looked at for 2 years, that's a part of a longer phased project.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for you, it's 3 years and built. And so those were some of the dynamics.
Correct. It'll take 8 months to get a DO, just so you guys know that. That's me using local people, which I would be very excited to understand what the other guy's using for engineering. I also would like to talk about that other project. Are y'all closing the road on that other project that intersects the property?
there are a couple of roads that intersect the
Yeah.
property. So
You
he's
got-
going to have to come back to us with a site.
That's going to be, that's hard to do. So hope someone's considered that. Anyways, I'm focused on my project, and I appreciate y'all. If y'all want to sell it to me for $42.5, I'll build something, and I'll have it built in 3 years. That's what I'll agree to.
Just
Mr.
for
Zimmerman?
background, thank you. What the city has done, instead of a reverter, that it has to be used for a laundromat or retail or offices, is that there's a option to purchase back the property. So if a retail or laundromat or whatever the use isn't done, either isn't built or a development order, but really we want to know that it'll be built, then the city would have a period of time after 3 years, let's just go with 3 years, to buy it back for what the city was paid. And that way, the city has an option to get back control of the property. The way this is couched in the agenda request is approval of the sale. And that is going to be a purchase contract that's not here, but it would be approval of a purchase contract to prepare a purchase contract. If you would like specific uses in a time period, then we would also come back with an option to repurchase the property with a specific use. I think I've heard uses such as laundromats, number one use, but maybe retail. But that's, we would do that. So it wouldn't be, I don't believe, based on the discussion, it wouldn't be a final vote today. It would be a vote to move forward, bring back the purchase agreement and an option to purchase back if certain uses don't occur within a time period.
Would there be a way for the board to amend their motion so that we don't have to bring it back? Because the next CRA meeting's not for like almost 6 weeks, and that's precious time. If they're on board with the project, how can we frame the motion, or how can they frame the motion to maybe empower myself, you, and the chairman?
Well, I think the most important thing is I don't sense there's a meeting of the minds between the seller, the city, and the potential buyer as far as what those uses are. There may be a meeting of the minds for 2 years, but is it you get a development order in 2 years, or you actually get something built in 2 years? Or is it 3 years? And what is that use? Is it a laundromat only? And if a laundromat's not done, then the city has a right to repurchase it. I don't sense that the buyer has signed off on that. If that can be all accomplished during this meeting, then potentially, yes, we could approve a framework, but I don't sense that's where we are.
I don't think anybody up here is trying to tell him what he specifically needs to build on the property. Am I wrong?
Like the size of the building or just the intended use?
Intended use, because as you were alluding earlier, things change, and so while now maybe the highest and best use he might decide is a laundromat, but then a year from now, while he's still gathering up all of his things to actually execute, nobody uses laundromats anymore for some crazy reason. But my point is that I don't think it's government's best position to try to tell the market what to do. I think it's much better for entrepreneurs and developers to figure out what is the best use for that property and then execute. That's where I'm at on this.
So instead of going through, reversion clauses, would it make sense to have a long due diligence period where he comes back we enter an agreement, he comes back with intended uses and ideas, and we don't proceed forward with closings and stuff until we come back and agree upon some.
That's fine.
Wouldn't that be simpler than exchange of money and then having to pull it back and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I will note it's zoned neighborhood general, so, any of those uses could be spelled out. I don't know, how that might affect the date. Ms. Waldron gets credit for that point.
I was just mentioning that, maybe it could be any uses that fall into that zoning category that are allowed, which would typically be neighborhood type uses, you know, like a laundromat, definitely fall into that zoning category.
A barber shop, I think, is one as well. That's one option.
I think it would be a good idea to suggest that, and then if you wanted to rezone it to something else, then you can go through that process to rezone it to something else. That's where I'm at with it. I'd rather get it back in the hands of somebody who's going to do something with it, and then it'd just be sitting there blank for years on end.
All right, I see our two online gentlemen re-raise their hands. Mr. Street?
Gentlemen. Neighborhood. General. It's broad. It's broad.
All right, Mr. Hughes?
What is it?
So, Josh, I hear you, and for the most part, I agree. But I think the perspective here is that we have an appraisal at $72,000. When appraisals are, it's just an appraisal. So we're really talking about near $29,500 on a property that was donated to us. We don't have any money into this property at all, it's my knowledge.
It's very, very little.
It's a minute amount.
We just
Yeah.
provided maintenance. I think it's less than $15,000.
Okay, so I guess.
Over a decade.
I guess my point is, if we try to tell this gentleman that we want this specific thing, or we want that specific thing, in my opinion, it's not commensurate with the value in which, if this was a $200,000 piece of property and we were selling it to him for $42,000, then yeah, I would be all in with, hey, you need to build this thing or that thing. But I mean, we're talking about a less than $30,000 amount, and I think he's going to build it. I mean, he's turned around the store that was there previously that was kind of not very sightly. So given the track record, given what's moving forward, I guess my point is that are we for $30,000, are we willing to say you have to do this thing of which he may not agree to, or that maybe he does agree to, and then it fails because we've shoehorned him into this specific use? That's just my concern with it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I like Robbie's approach where he comes back and gives us a couple options. It gives him time to do something, but gives us a little surety that we don't go, oh man, oopsies.
Yeah.
And so that gives him the flexibility to do some research. I'm even fine with a 180-day due diligence period. I mean, that gives you plenty of time to look up stuff and come back to ideas. And that gives him another 2.5 years or a year and a half, depending on if we do 2 year, 3 year, to actually build one of the options he gives us. And he can give us 20 options for all I care. That just prevents us from going, oh, oopsie, we didn't think about this one wrinkle. And he's not going to be bad or anything, but we're not like we're answering to something that we didn't even think through.
Yeah, and we're not sitting here telling him how to spend his
Yeah.
money on our development.
Totally.
So
So it sounds like we're pushing towards a potential 180-day due diligence period. I'm fine with a three-year deadline, if you're willing to do due diligence period, and coming back to us with as many options, at least 2 options.
Provided range with a couple of options we laid out. The one thing that I would suggest to you guys, and the city's already stubbed their toe before doing this, and I think it's great that everybody wants to talk about this stuff, but one of the reasons as a developer that I'm very, very cautious of telling you exactly what I want to do is it's out in the public. And the reason Publix didn't come here 5 years ago is because you guys put it out there in the public. And we'd have had a grocery store here 5 years ago if someone wouldn't have ran their mouth about Publix. And I'm telling you, it's a problem. So y'all do with that what you want.
Well, in this case, we were entering into agreement where if someone else came with the exact same idea, you're already on track to close.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
also, virtually everything that we do is in the public. I mean, it's due to sunshine law. Every single email that we get or send.
But it's zoned a specific use. We should stick to the specific uses. I should be allowed to buy the property. If you want to discount it, that's fine. I agree. I appreciate it. But I'm going to use the property. I'm not somebody that just stumbled in here from Georgia. I've been here a long time.
So the recommendation, which I believe the motion the second for, is consistent with what we've discussed, selling it for $42,500 contingent upon the execution of a development agreement, to complete the development within 3 years. So we would, work over the next, probably 6 weeks or so. We'll shoot for the September meeting, but it might be the October meeting before we bring back that development agreement. Is there concurrence on the dais that that is the motion that's on the floor?
And with this agreement, he's on track that if someone else comes with the exact same idea and says 43,000, he's not derailed.
Y'all are approving to sell it to him for $42,500.
Okay.
And then staff would work with him to bring back the development agreement, either the September or October CRA board.
Hey.
I wish we.
Are you good, Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
All right, any other deliberation from the board? All right, Ms. Sagehorn, call the roll.
Board Member,
Oh, I'm
State the
sorry.
motion.
So the recommendation from staff is that the CRA board approve selling the parcel located at 551 East 6th Street, which is parcel number 20387-000-000, within the downtown North Area District to B&S Liquors for the amount of $42,500, which would be contingent upon the execution of a development agreement requiring the purchaser to complete development of the property within 3 years, and just that aligns with our strategic objectives. That was the motion that I believe Mr. Branch made the motion and Mr. Granger seconded it.
And in the development agreement, there'll be other things, but there'll be 180-day due diligence.
Okay, does that need to be stated in the motion? Are we good?
I'm good, because it's all subject to a development agreement that you'll approve in 6 weeks.
Thank you.
Yep, we will shoot for the September meeting, but if not, October at the absolute latest. So, all right, no other comment. Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. All right, we'll be in touch soon, Mr. Oakes. Thank you. All right, item number 11 is consideration of a historic structures report, or HSR, for the A.D. Harris Learning Village to evaluate eligibility for the state and/or National Historic Register listing. As background information, at the June 3rd, 2025 CRA board meeting, staff was directed to proceed with the application process for the state historic designation of the A.D. Harris Learning Village and to clarify the distinction between a historic site and a historic building for potential listing on the National Register of Historic Places. In response, staff consulted with Chuck Helmer of DAG Architects, who has served on multiple historic design review panels. Mr. Helmer referred the project to Mark Tarmy, a historic preservation architect with the Forum Design Group. Mr. Tarmy provided a proposal to complete a historic structures report for the property at a cost of $22,500 with an additional fee of $3,000 to complete the Florida Master Site file. In addition, staff submitted an application through the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department to install a Glenwood historic marker on the site. This marker will be included in the next dedication ceremony, which is currently scheduled for September 13th of 2025. Staff seeks direction from the board on whether to proceed with the proposed scope of work as outlined above. Board?
I'll make a motion. I'd like to discuss it.
All right, so we have a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on on the proposal as laid out.
Yes. I love the history of this town. I've put my money where my mouth is, opening businesses that solely celebrate the history of this town and telling the stories of the town. And I also own a home, the Sap House, that's on the National Register. And I remember when we bought it, I was like, oh, yay, this is gonna really help me out. And it didn't help at all. It didn't give us any tax abatements. There wasn't any money for history. There's just, it's all pageantry. And it doesn't even protect the building. Even a home on the National Register, you can still tear it down. And I know this isn't a National Register, this is a Florida, but unless there's a tangible value it brings, I would be up for, if we want an additional sign there that, or paying for a video that tells the story of the school and we preserve that, those stories through a video, I'd be up for spending money that way. But if it's just a seal of approval that doesn't do anything, it doesn't save the stories, it just adds a stamp, I'm not in favor for that. I am in favor for saving the stories.
So just for clarity, that's what that marker that's already in the hopper for September 13th will have, a narrative and it's already set to happen.
So is this in addition to that? Is this request in addition to that?
This would be in addition.
There is an aspect that's been presented, which is to have a historic marker through the state process, which is what the Rosenwald Alumni Association did to put the marker there at Rosenwald High School. That is a separate historical marker at a cost, I want to say around $3,000. And that may be what the Florida Master Site file is.
That is my understanding. It's what you see in front of the McKenzie House, that salt pot along Beach Drive, the Christo House on something like that as well.
People do read those signs. I mean, you'll see people stand there reading the signs. Yeah.
Would you amend your motion to include for the $3,000 Florida Master Site file rather than the historic structures report?
Yeah, certainly.
That would get us the Florida designation as well as our local marker that we're putting up on September 13th.
Absolutely.
And then forego the national one?
Correct.
Staff, question budget-wise, do we have any budget considerations or concerns with the $3,000 to potentially $5,000 expense for the state one?
This, currently was not in the budget for downtown North CRA. However, we do have other, projects we can definitely take the funds from to cover the $3,000 cost.
All right. Mr. Street? All right, thank you. All right, if there's no other comments, I believe the motion on the table is to, or on the floor rather, is to forego the National Historic Structures Report, instead focus on the Florida Master Site file, which is approximately $3,000, and then proceed with the city's plan as well for the local marker. Is that accurate, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, it is.
All right. And who made the second?
I did.
Do you concur?
Amend, yes.
All right, any further discussion? All right, Ms. Sagehorn, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Actually, I think.
Thank you.
She said.
All right, item number 12 is discussion of the expansion of the Millville and the St. Andrews CRA district boundaries. As background information, at the June 3rd, 2025 CRA board meeting, the board directed staff to gather information on the process and associated costs for expanding the boundaries of the Millville CRA district and for an expansion of the St. Andrews CRA district. Estimated costs are as follows. Each finding of necessity study is a minimum of $20,000. Costs can vary by area size. Each redevelopment plan amendment and update is a minimum of $40,000. These estimates represent the low end of the cost range and could increase based on factors such as the size of the expansion area, required conceptual planning and design, public engagement, involvement in county negotiations, and participation in the public hearing and adoption process. The process can take anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Staff seeks direction from the board on whether to proceed with the CRA boundary expansion efforts for Millville and St. Andrews districts. If the board wishes to move forward, staff also requests guidance on the specific areas to be considered for inclusion in East District's expansion. We do have the current CRA district maps displayed on the screen. Board?
I make a motion to approve, but I want a discussion.
All right, we have a motion to approve and we have a second. Open to discussion and deliberation by the board.
And clarify this, when we say each redevelopment plan, we're not talking about each CRA district has to go then pay the.
That's a good question. Are we talking minimum 60 or minimum 120? Because we're talking about two districts.
That's huge.
Yeah, so it would be each. So you're talking minimum 120.
120. Yowzers.
Ms. Waldron?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I thought you were wanting to say. Mr. Street, go ahead, sir. All right. Thank you, Mr. Street. Mr. Hughes?
You're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes, we see your hand is up, sir, but your mic and camera off. Yep, we can hear you now.
Good question.
What are we solving for? Right. Just for the public, CRAs are a diversion of property taxes from the county. Correct that your general fund, correct me, your ad valorem based into the general fund would be capped, but it would be a diversion into the CRA. And I think my worry or my goal of this is there are a lot of infill, there's no commercial corridor in that area. And that's really how we make our money as a city is through merchant fees. But there's a lot of infill lots in the area that we need to encourage people to rebuild. And we are doing that through Incremental Development Alliance, but we don't have any tools to encourage people to develop in those neighborhoods beyond an emotional response of, don't you love your neighborhood? Let's invest in it. And, so I want the neighborhood to have the same tax incentive tools that we have in North Downtown and Millville and those places. And so that was my goal. Is it worth the $120,000? That's what I don't know. Is there an alternative that we don't have to do a CRA, that we could still do some other incentive in that area? I don't know that either.
So I will just add, this was a request, in conversations with some of the elected officials. The specific ask, or one idea that I know was floated, was for Millville to go all the way to 11th Street. That was the desire. And then St. Andrews to come maybe a little bit further east, maybe like towards Northside Drive and or Balboa, to include Delwood Estates, thank you, Commissioner. And then possibly also take a little bit further north, maybe like up towards 23rd Street. So those are and I don't know if Commissioner Street was thinking maybe it also kind of comes southwest into some of those neighbors in and around Lake Huntington. So I know those were kind of the specific conversations that myself and Ms. Waldron had with some of the board in regards to both Millville and St. Andrews. So
my focus was more the gap between North Downtown Panama City and Millville. I had someone on Facebook say, why haven't we expanded the CRA district in that gap?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr. Chairman. Can you just point to it?
Yeah, here we go. Like Dana White.
No comment.
The line that that's 7th Street.
Correct.
So to go north to 11th. So you're calling that?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing, yes, to take Millville, the pinkish, mauvish, whatever, salmon, up all the way to 11th Street.
Correct. That was the gap I was.
That was the one for Millville that I know was communicated as, that would be a wish. And then again, St. Andrews, the segment that comes east, taking it a little bit further to either towards Northside Drive or Balboa for the purpose of including Delwood Estate and some of those neighborhoods in there. And then I want to say maybe a little bit further north to kind of, maybe not all the way to, I think that's 15th Street, or a little bit further. And I don't know that we talked about it coming southwest. Did we, Mr. Street? I can't remember. I know we talked about it going east and north on the east half of the St. Andrews CRA, sir. Go ahead. That is correct. Yep. Understood. Absolutely would commit to meeting with Mr. Micah at the county on that. And just as a reminder, they requested it dropped from 85% to 74%, which we thought that was very reasonable, very fair ask. And so we agreed to it without any hesitation.
Could we kick the can on this one and then potentially have this as a later discussion when we're talking about budgets and projects, like planning for next year? Like, here's your ABC multiple choice. Because we might decide, oh my gosh, yes, we want to expand Millville, but not St. Andrews because of budget reasons. Not blend the two.
So are you saying like table this to the next meeting and bring back some more specifics in the map, or to next?
Yeah, exactly. And even because this is kind of lumping together two districts' needs, and I'd like to see them separated. I mean, if in the budget presentation, it's sort of multiple choice. It's like, here's a bunch of things we're potentially pitching that we should do. I'd like that to be one of the options we discuss later.
Yeah.
You have the motion.
I mean,
You have the motion.
I would just. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I need to amend my motion, or do you even need a motion to?
I would just, if you just want to table it to the September 2nd meeting, I think that'd be appropriate.
So I'll withdraw my motion. Do I make a motion that we
Move to table.
move the table? I make a motion that we move the table this item
To September 2nd?
to September 2nd.
All right.
Silly.
Yep.
The
All right.
Forest Park Mobility CRA.
Yeah. All right. So we have a motion. We still need a second to table to the September 2nd meeting.
I'll second.
All right. So a motion is second. I did want to just clarify though. So, I mean, we're not going to be discussing projects at September 2nd. So, the commissioners, they know these wards. They know the neighborhoods. They know that there needs to be, an expanded area for blight. And then obviously any of the things that we're allowed to do under the CRA, we would consider that, with each project in each fiscal year, staff and elected officials working together. So because there are going to be both commercial and residential properties in both of these potential expansion areas. So, and I just want to note, for those that are watching online, we're aware again that when you hear the people on Zoom speak, you can't hear them. That's an issue that county and city IT are working on. So we do apologize. All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, what were you?
Just tabling it to September 2nd, and I've been directed to get with Mr. Mike at the county to take the temperature of the county. So, all right, please call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, we'll bring that back September 2nd. All right, item number 13 is consideration, approval, and authorization to execute the interlocal agreement between the Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Panama City, PCR, Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department, for hardscape, landscape maintenance, and beautification in both downtown North, Millville, and the St. Andrews CRA District for, yes, fiscal year 2025. As background information, in August of 2024, CRA staff presented a proposed memorandum of understanding between the CRA and the PCR Department for maintenance and continued beautification of right-of-ways, medians, and CRA-owned properties within the downtown North, Millville, and St. Andrews CRA districts for fiscal year 2025. A separate MOU for downtown district was executed with the Downtown Improvement Board and is not included in the scope. At that time, the CRA Board directed staff to obtain quotes from outside vendors for comparison. Initial quotes were received, however, due to changes in the scope of work. Updated quotes were subsequently obtained. Before contracts were finalized with the lowest bidder, PCR requested reconsideration, noting that they had continued to perform the maintenance work throughout the year. It is important to note that the outsourcing the scope of work would result in the layoff of 5 PCR maintenance positions, as these positions are funded through the CRA support for the contract. Staff recommends approval of the interlocal agreement between CRA and PCR for hardscape landscape maintenance and beautification in downtown North, Millville, and the St. Andrews CRA districts for fiscal year 2025. Staff would recommend and accept a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussions? And I do know that, and I would offer this to the other board members, but myself and Mr. Mefford and one of his senior staffers are going to go in a couple of weeks with Mr. Street and drive around St. Andrews and get some direct feedback from the commissioner, some of the areas that he has concerns over and would like to see more attention given to. So, Mr. Street, I see your hand is raised, sir.
You know I love it.
I knew you would. Thank you, Mr. Street. Mr. Hughes? So Mr. Mefford is supportive of this interlocal agreement and is part of the staff that requests the approval. Mr. Hughes, you muted yourself. All right. All right. Any further questions or discussion? All right. Ms. Sagehorn, call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, item number 14 is consideration of a new Community Redevelopment Agency logo to enhance department identity. We have 3 options that were discussed recently at a workshop. We good? Okay. At the workshop, y'all requested that we bring back 3 for y'all to consider. And that y'all would give us direction on one. It's important to note that these are not the final versions. As far as the quality, we will have Aaron Rich Marketing fine tune and finalize it based on the direction that we received today. So the first 2 were done with staff and Mr. Rich, and then the third one right here was done by the Honorable Alan Branch. So he had like 10 or 12, but his colleagues lovingly told him that he could only bring 1 back. And so we had a conversation, and staff felt of the ones that Mr. Branch did, this was our favorite. So I don't know which one y'all like, or if you just want to vote to let me pick, that'd be awesome too.
Yeah.
Oh, I got
Too much
told
power.
no.
Too much power.
Number 2 again?
Keep me humble.
Number 2.
All right, so I hear, is that a motion, Board Member Lucas?
Can you show us number 2 again?
He wants to see number 2.
I want to
Make a
see number
motion
2,
that we
sorry.
accept
Okay.
number 2.
So, I'm sorry, what, sir?
I'll make a motion to accept number 2.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept version 2. Mr. Street, Mr. Hughes, any comments? Go ahead, Mr. Street. Oh, okay. I was fixing to give the secret signal to Donald to shut the Zoom link down. No, I'm just kidding.
Oops.
All right, any other comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor
Yeah.
to go with item number 2.
I would suggest that for the purposes of print, Community Redevelopment Agency down at the bottom is fine. But when you're looking at actually using a logo in things like shirts or coins, anything of that nature where we're using this outside of print, I would drop that. I would drop the Community Redevelopment Agency because it gets to be very, very difficult for small print to translate into things like embroidery or whatnot.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
I think that does, and I don't, the motion and seconders, do you have any objection to that? All right, any further discussion? All right, Ms. Sagehorn, call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yeah.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
And Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, item number 15 is consideration to update and revision to the meeting times in the virtual workshop. An update revision is requested for CRA board meetings and direction on virtual workshops from the board. City Commission, as you know, recently modified its meeting times for afternoon business meetings and virtual workshops. Aligning meeting times to common windows and start times reduces confusion and best serves the public, staff, and elected officials by ensuring consistency and expectations. Staff would also appreciate direction from the CRA board on whether or not they would like to have their separate virtual workshop each month scheduled. Staff recommends the CRA board vote to modify the start time of its once-a-month business meeting, which is on the first Tuesday of each month, to begin at 4:30 p.m. Central Time to align with other city meetings involving elected officials. This would begin in September of 2025. As there is no August 2025 CRA board meeting. Additionally, should the CRA board desire its own virtual workshop, staff recommends the third Wednesday of each month, also at 4:30 p.m. This would begin in August of 2025.
A motion that we move with staff recommendation on both the meeting time and the virtual workshop on the third Wednesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we get into the discussion of the fiscal year 2026 proposed project. Please set the timer for 5 minutes.
I should.
All right, we are now back, called back to order for the CRA board meeting on July 29th, 2025. And we're moving into item number 16, discussion of the fiscal year 2026 proposed projects. And I have a presentation that I don't know if I start. I think y'all need to probably start it for me, Mr. Schwartz. There we go. All right, can we minimize the Zoom screen? There we go, perfect. All right, so we are doing the proposed projects for fiscal year 2026 for our 4 CRA districts. So how did we determine the projects to prioritize? So just as a reminder, we did CRA socials and surveys. Each district hosted in-person CRA socials in February of March of this year, where community members shared input. An online survey was also available for 7 or so weeks from February 6th to March 31st to gather additional public feedback. You'll also remember the strategic priorities workshop / pre-budget open house that we held in February. There was a citywide workshop along all of the departments and divisions. All the elected officials and residents were given an opportunity to provide feedback at that event as well. We referenced and adopted plans that emphasizes safety improvements like lighting and sidewalks, and call for stronger connectivity throughout the neighborhoods. And then there was also interdepartment collaboration. Discussions with city departments helped identify priority projects where the CRA could provide funding or support to shared meet goals. So we'll go through them real quick. So first is Millville, the Millville district. So preliminary budget, revenue projected at $1,052,000, operating expenses at $307,000, carry forward at $550,000. So the project allowance for fiscal year 2026 for Millville would be roughly $1.3 million. So proposed projects and programs, the path, which would connect Daffin and Waterfront Parks, would not require narrowing the road. It would just remove the current space between the sidewalk and the curb. Proposed road narrowing would only occur from Sherman to Main. That doesn't necessarily have to happen, but that is the bond project that is listed here in front of us on our screen from 3rd Street and Maple Avenue down to Everett Avenue. include an 8-foot pedestrian concrete path, upgrade the infrastructure, mill and resurface 3rd Street, including the sections that are not going to be covered by the FEMA roads project, bury the utility lines from the PC wastewater treatment plant all the way to Main Avenue, and it would narrow the road slightly from Sherman Avenue to Main Avenue to accommodate the sidewalk space for outdoor dining. The project would address sewer, stormwater, and road surface issues. It would also bring us to the 21st century with buried utilities. Alternatively, we could also do a bond project to resurface many roads in Millville and omit the infrastructure repairs and pedestrian path, which provide safe connectivity, such as the Dover coal plans, and encourage active lifestyles. But one thing I would just flag, if you look at kind of the top and bottom, this is how beautiful a community and how easy an upgrade is with buried utilities. It makes it just a more desired place to live and visit and invest, increases property values and business opportunities in the community, and also plan to have public parking down at the waterfront park where people could park and walk through this. So the other one is the Bicycle Safety Village. Why the Safety Village is practical and powerful. It reduces childhood injuries through hands-on proven safety education, maintenance with PCR working to unload some parks. Taking this on will not be overburdening them. We've coordinated with them in advance and would obviously partner in any way that they needed to support for it to be successful. We plan to have renewable sponsorships for the mini buildings to offset maintenance costs, or the CRA can cover some of the maintenance cost. Unique in our region, no other city nearby offers this type of safety education infrastructure. The nearest one is Orlando. It would boost tourism into Millville, an area that's currently lacking any attractions. Enhances outreach for schools, police, and fire through field trips, bike rodeos, safety demonstrations, offers advertising opportunities for local businesses through the mini building sponsorships or in-kind support. There are proven models out there. Orlando shows fewer accidents and a very strong field trip demand for a facility such as this. High impact, long-term legacy, safer kids, stronger community. Wayfinding signage. These are some of the neighborhood signage, very similar to what we saw in the downtown area. This helps build community identity. Studies have shown that this is key to long-term revitalization efforts, creates a welcoming and memorable experience with distinct, cohesive signage, boosts economic development, reinforces branding for districts, helping attract new businesses, events, and investment, and also supports redevelopment goals. Signage is often one of the most visible public investments, a project many CRAs take on around the state, and it's an easy and immediate signal of progress and investment efforts in a neighborhood. And yes, there was some minimal backlash on the downtown signage that was based on misinformation, as the public didn't understand the CRA is different than the city. And we were building, coordinating with the city streetscapes improvement and investment at the same time. So proposed projects and programs additionally, we got grants, exterior commercial and grants programs, 10 grants at $15,000 each, maximum Daffin Park $40,000, and then continue with World Changers at $30,000. Daffin Park would be a PCR project with funding support from the CRA, lighting, the Housing and Community Services Department funded the fixtures at Daffin Park. He said they've already, Mr. Mefford, they've already arrived with PCR, so we're, working to get that installed very soon. We already have PCR in the works to purchase. Additional funding is not needed from the CRA for an ice machine. Storage container, that could be something to be used for sports equipment, but also could be used for the kitchen renovation. And, we could use some savings from reducing the amount of the exterior commercial grants. So moving into St. Andrews. Preliminary budget, revenue projected 883, operating expenses 323, and then the carry forward at 850. So project allowance estimated for St. Andrews District for fiscal year 2026 is $1.4 million. So proposed projects in St. Andrews are the boardwalk, Truesdale Park, and then streetscapes. So considering that we won't likely spend the $800,000 we've already saved for the boardwalk, we could consider, an additional $350,000 to $500,000 to Truesdale, which we all believe to be a priority. That is a huge need in St. Andrews, as larger meeting space. We could also conceivably do $350,000 to Truesdale, and then maybe $150,000 to the Oaks by the Bay playground. then we could potentially allocate $500,000 for fiscal year '27 towards the boardwalk if it's still needed. As a reminder, we're also kind of in kind of soft negotiations with SAMP, St. Andrews Marina Partners, and them potentially partnering with us to make that boardwalk. And just for the board and the public's benefit, that's along Bayview, kind of immediately to the south of Uncle Ernie's, all the way to 10th Street where the entrance to the marina is.
Waterside. Waterside.
Correct, thank you, yes, Commissioner, on the water side, so on the west side of Bayview. So keep in mind also that we expect fiscal year '27 St. Andrews to have an increased budget due to the expansion. So, that $500,000 won't necessarily be as much as it would in fiscal year 2026. All right, moving into the Downtown North District, preliminary budget revenue, $1.4 million. Operating expenses, $572, a carry forward of $130, so that leaves a project allowance of about $960,000 for the Downtown North District. Proposed projects and programs, wayfinding signage, $300,000. SPART program, $280,000. This is Mayor Branch's plan to incentivize development of city-owned parcels. For the neighborhood signage, again, same key benefits that we spelled out for Millville, but even more important in helping establish a clear identity and trying to honor the culture and rich heritage of this neighborhood in a distinct way, which they are asking for repeatedly in all of our interactions and through their elected official. SPART program. This is a strong program with great potential, but allocating all or most of the district's funds to a pilot initiative may not be the most strategic approach. We like the idea and we want to move it forward, but we feel we can do that while still supporting other projects that deliver other immediate visible impact. Also with the Downtown North District, we're looking at the Glenwood Community Center, sidewalk repairs, and then again, continuing on with World Changers. We need, at the Glenwood Center, we need painting the interior, we need to strip and refinish the floors, and we need some additional built-in shelving for storage. And all of this is needed and has been communicated to us by Mr. Mefford and the team at Parks and Rec Department. The needs of sidewalk repair that aren't included in the FEMA roads or I'm sorry, the FEMA sidewalk repairs that have been done, the $160,000 only puts a small dent in what this particular district needs. And we do have a number of grants also that, haven't necessarily covered sidewalks like we would have hoped. So we've used both infrastructure surtax and some CRA money to help fix these sidewalks. Again, promoting walkability is a key component in a community. And then last but certainly not least, the Downtown District. Preliminary budget, the revenue is projected to be $578,000. Operating expenses, $238,000. And then a carry forward of $234,000, which gives a project allowance of about $575,000 in the Downtown District. So proposed projects are digital directories. About $105,000, provides real-time updates for events, businesses, and public amenities, creates flexibility and possible marketing revenue, reduces the long-term cost. $15,000 contribution will be coming from Destination Panama City, and we do have a letter of support from the Downtown Improvement Board. So also the Breezeway, and since y'all did vote earlier to establish the virtual workshop on the third Wednesday. I do plan for us to kind of talk through that Breezeway project a little bit more at that virtual workshop, just as a heads up. But in fiscal year 2024, we did about $55,000 for temporary pathway improvements, kind of getting ahead of the streetscapes project so that, we knew there'd be a lot more parking pushed to the backside off Grace, so won't people be able to get through to Harrison Avenue. Fiscal year 25, we had $250,000 budgeted for planning and future build. We did an RFP back in February of this year. It was awarded to Virtuous Cycles for the purchase with the easement. Negotiations are still underway. The CRA funds are kind of in reserve until a contract is reached. Fiscal year 26, we've currently got $195,000 budgeted for planning and future build. McKenzie Park, $35,000, looking at concrete cornhole sets, 2 of them, some affinity benches, and then musical instruments on display in the park as that continues to be rebuilt and fully brought back online. So that ends the presentation for the proposed projects for fiscal year 2026 for all 4 of our CRA districts. Staff is available to answer any questions as y'all talk through and deliberate this proposal. Ms. Waldron, is any action needed tonight from the board on this, or just kind of a time of discussion and some feedback?
Yeah, we just wanted some feedback to see if we're on the right track, because we will be bringing the CRA budgets for consideration and approval at the September 2nd CRA board meeting ahead of going to the city commission for ultimate approval the 9th and 23rd. So, and even once we approve the budgets, I mean, the funds are going to be allocated to accounts in the budget. And if we want to redirect the money, we can do that after they're adopted, if you so choose.
Yep. Thank you. All right, board.
Awesome. Should we just go by district and
Yeah, I think that'd be
round
fine. I
robin
think-
style?
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate. We can start with Millville.
Perfect. I sent an email to, and it was distributed to all the commissioners.
I
about my Millville
believe
notes.
I did, yes.
My Millville notes were, I mean, streetscapes has been awesome downtown. One of the problems with removing the parking and widening the sidewalks is there's no city parking in that area. And if you expect any, like, basically 4 landowners could block their parking spots and you would have no commerce. And so I'm not in favor of a streetscape idea. I'm really in favor of a resurfacing and striping, and even interested in taking this bond and seeing how much we could resurface in that area, because that neighborhood is in desperate need of resurfacing. That's interesting to me. The bicycle safety village is the cutest thing in the world. I was just looking at pictures, absolutely the cutest thing. My nephew and niece would love that. But I'd rather see tangible action. I know we have a letter of intent or discussion with the Boys and Girls Club. I'd love to see that facility open back up. That would be hugely impactful to the neighborhood. I think potentially more so than the bicycle safety village, although that's the cutest little idea in the world. I think the way the signage downtown is beautiful. It's sort of a thing that you add once the momentum has started. And so most of my perspective in Millville is around the needs of the neighborhood. And I asked 4 people that live on 3rd Street that were adamantly opposed to removing parking on 3rd Street. And they all said our signage is fine for now. And so what I'd like to see is things, maybe this isn't 2 years from now, we redo the signage with something prettier. And then when I was mentioning the expansion of that district, I was really mentioning, when I kept saying projects, I think Jonathan was talking about construction projects. I was talking about it more being a line item here that we go, oh yeah, maybe we reduce the grants and we do expand it as being one of the options here. Oh, is it cornhole or is it expanding the district? I'm trying to think what else for that in that neighborhood. We need that 3rd Street corridor, that's a bedroom community that has a little tiny Main Street on it. And right now, the buildings on that road, with the exception of Jeans, are really industrial, flex industrial spaces. They're not Main Street businesses. And so I did send a document to Jonathan about us hiring, and this is what most of these do. They have a rotation of agents who you would say, all right, next agent up, we want you to go approach these owners to buy these properties or acquire this land or sell it or trade it. But it's not us and it's not staff. And so if there was an option of we go buy a building from one of these owners, and I mean, we're not forcing them, they have to sell it at the rate that they want, I would be potentially in favor of that. If the neighborhood wants more of Main Street, coffee shop, little, back to get Sweet Magnolias back style restaurants, I would be in favor for that. But I think these are all great ideas. It's just not the first thing I would work on. It's mine. Underground utilities, that'd be amazing, but underground utilities are not going to, like a resurfacing would potentially make someone go, okay, someone's keeping up this neighborhood. But I don't think it's very detrimental to the neighborhood. So, but I'm very, I would really like us to consider helping Boys and Girls Club get reopened. That to me is what the neighborhood needs. It doesn't add money to the tax roll, but it helps the neighborhood. Half of my friends' story growing up is Boys and Girls Club, MLK Rec Center, and it's sort of the foundation of their youth, and we need those facilities open. So if we have the ability to help them get open quicker, then I'd love to help them. So that's my Millville thoughts.
Just situational awareness, we hope to have that RFQ for the real estate services out by the end of next week.
Sweet. Millville, anyone else?
Can you pull your mic a little bit closer again?
I can, and I will. So I concur with some of what's been said. I know there is great interest in getting that Boys and Girls Club back open. And there's a great need with making sure our children have targeted, intentional time usage and not be left on their own. We tend not to like the ideas they come up with by themselves. So the Bicycle Safety Village, I think if I weigh that against Boys and Girls Club, the Safety Village is second. Those are the main things. And then, you know, to the extent that we can encourage development along the Business 98 corridor in Millville. I know there's been a request for that to clean up. We've got a lot of vacant land along that corridor. We're seeing some good things happen when you roll into Millville with the restaurants there, the boat dock area, the event center, but as you press on the other side of Sherman, we need to put a little love and attention over there as well. Those are my thoughts about Millville.
Right. I'll just add another ask before we go to Mr. Street is, you know, we are also kind of started that process. We'll work with the FRA and, you know, and with the Florida League of Cities kind of identifying, you know, 6, 7, 8 cities or CRAs rather, and kind of do some benchmarking and kind of some comparison. But I will say we did get some preliminary information from FRA. Again, that's the Florida Redevelopment Association. They suggest/recommend that CRA stay away from supporting nonprofits. We have some additional information on it that we'll share, but did feel that was important to share with you all on the front end. So, Mr. Street?
Okay. You're all supposed to talk about it.
Who were?
No, his artist.
All right.
Yeah.
Comments about Millville?
Oh, hey, I guess I'm not going to talk.
No.
No, he just talked about St. Andrews, but not
Yeah.
Milton.
We had said we're going to go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just skipping ahead.
Yeah.
We know where your heart is.
Yeah. Janice made me do it. Okay. All right, Mr. Granger?
So I'm going to do the same thing. No, I agree with Commissioner Street, but I think that more things, where possible, when legal, should be funded out of the CRA. So as we talk about the things like Waterfront Partnership District and other districts, wherever they may be, or any chance we can that we can fund things out of the CRA, I think we should. I also think that anytime we have infrastructure needs in an area, absolutely, we should be looking at all sources of funds to help with that. So if we can use CRA funds to repave or refresh a road or fix infrastructure, I'm down. I think that's the number one complaint that you hear from all neighborhoods across the city, with the exception of the two big brand new neighborhoods, is infrastructure and roads that they've been neglected for so long. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I mean,
Before we move away from Millville, I would like to say on the on the point that was made about nonprofits, that really what we're talking about in the context of the CRA is workforce development and childcare, which is part of economic development. And we know childcare needs are great in our community. And so I would just like to remind us that a nonprofit is a business. And so there's not a private business necessarily that's doing the work for childcare and workforce development at the age levels that the Boys and Girls Club are supporting, and that need is there, and it'll take away the blight on that corner, just for us to consider.
Yes.
Well, and it's really no different, in my opinion, the way we handle the Center for the Arts. That's Bay Arts Alliance is a nonprofit that runs the facility that we help with.
And it's a business.
I don't oppose the
The Center
funding.
for the Arts is a city-owned
Yep.
facility, and the city
Funds it.
contracts with Bay Arts to provide management of that
Why we
facility.
collaborate with the nonprofits, my point. Even Performing Arts Center, we're
But that's a,
collaboration. with the nonprofit.
what they're trying to say is that you do that with the city commissioner hat on, not the CRA hat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the CRA assets would be the Publishing Museum in St. Andrews.
And A.D. Harris.
Okay.
And so my point is that if the funding request from the Boys and Girls Club is a funding of repair, funding like a one-time ask, then yeah, I'll support that. But I mean, if it's I think the guidance that came from the FRA was more so don't latch yourself into a nonprofit that is dependent upon a CRA. And I don't think that that's what's happening here. So.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen, it's, the request is for a portion of a $2 million project. Small, but well.
Yes. All right.
Anything else on Millville, or can we move into St. Andrews?
And I think I would add to that, Board Member Street, that it's the need from the perspective of the organization or the body. From the CRA, does it meet the criteria of a need? From our other hats that we wear, does it meet that need? Just as when we need a product or a service and we put it out, as the urban core for Bay County, we've got some specific needs that nonprofits often are in the business of and can better handle that than a for-profit. So.
All right, moving on to St. Andrews. Comments? You want to lead the way, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I echo Josh's feelings, but in adding on the boardwalk, I literally walked that last night with my niece and nephew, and it's in disrepair, and it definitely is a tripping hazard and could use some love.
All right. If there are specific trip hazards that are, please send us a picture. That will have facility maintenance take a look at it. But yes, it's survived Hurricane Michael. It's been there for a long time.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I don't have any comments on St. Andrews.
Mr. Granger, why don't we start with you this time?
I don't have any comments on St. Andrews.
I know,
Whatever Nancy wants.
Commissioner Street, you want to retouch on St. Andrews a little bit?
Bless you.
So is it 1 page?
She's gonna come back.
Any comments on St. Andrews? Thank you, Mr. Street. Ms. Lucas?
Tore your bonder all up.
I have, I've confused myself in the process.
It's okay.
But
I get it.
I'm only looking at about,
This is the first slide and this is the second slide. There's
Right.
only 2 slides. from
so we're only being shown about $565,000 out of a projected allowance of 1.4 million. What,
The 800,000's carry forward for the boardwalk.
previously saved.
Oh, that's what
That's for
that's
the-
going for?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I was like,
And like I said, we're
watch
we're in kind of some soft negotiations. We've had some preliminary conversations with SAMP potentially working that in, to that end. And so, the actual grant, was actually, it was for the boardwalk where it could be for improved parking. And so, the original grant that we were going to put that boardwalk money to is what we're looking rather to actually use for, enhancing parking, the diesel property and that. So the thought was to take some of the money for this, and again, this is just a conversation is all we're having, is to, we could potentially, work that out with SAMP in some way or punt and use that on other stuff. I know it would be nice if Beck Avenue was our road. Commissioner Street and I both agree with that, but, our hands are somewhat tied through St. Andrews because we have a state alternate highway going right through the middle of St. Andrews, so right through the business corridor, so.
So there was, as we moved to downtown north, there was some questions about some things mentioned at the CRA socials that aren't reflected here. And I know at the downtown north, we spent some time talking about Watson Bayou and the need for there to be work done there, and that may be an initial study or something to look at. And the Spark program is a good idea. The call for increasing grants, that's reflected in here as well. So I know last year we had an unanticipated cost for the HVAC at Glenwood Community Center, so I would ask if there were any other major equipment kind of needs that facility might have.
Well, I know, and you talk about in addition to the paint, the floors and the shelving.
Right.
That's
'cause,
a good,
yeah, it went out, the air went out last summer and it took a while to get it, yes, to get it back.
I'm trying to remember, I feel like we replaced,
Ended up replacing the units.
yeah, so I mean,
We also had HVAC issues at 80 Harris that we've worked through in the fire panel
Okay.
upgrades that we've worked through those too.
Uh,
And
so-
there is some funds in the budget for repairs and at 80 Harris.
Okay, I just thought since we have it here, let's try to be as inclusive as possible. But what we're looking at to actually increase the bottom line, the economic development, those are the priorities. So,
okay. Anybody else for downtown north?
Yes, can you give me a breakdown of the land assemblage and or relocation cost of $200,000? What does that entail? Is that just staff time for paperwork?
Yeah,
Pull your mic down.
that was partly in our, discussions with Pedro.
Are you close to a mic?
Yes. In our discussions with Mr. Gasson on the 15th and MLK properties, he does intend or would love to buy additional parcels around in addition to the 15 that we have. And we talked about trying to help maybe fill some gaps to make those property owners whole whenever he's negotiating. So that's what those funds were set aside for.
And the development agreement that y'all approved earlier alluded to the CRA and city partnering with him to kind of help move this forward.
Okay, I guess I was confused because under the header of Spark program, and I was like, I created two.
That's
Well, that's
incentivizing the
sparking.
development of city-owned
You
properties.
should just like real estate then, so not mine.
That's right.
So I think Glenwood already has a brand, like you can see it on the sign here. We surely that file is somewhere. The community of Glenwood, the little seal at the top of that sign. I think signs are great. We've done the sign, I think there was a sign project in the 90s or something. I would love to see that, and even the branding, that money moved into incentives to get buildings built. Whatever it takes, it's going to take impact fee reduction, permit grants. It's going to take all that to get what we need down MLK, in my opinion. And I think signs, much like the signs in Millville, are nice to have, but it's not going to, someone's not going to say, gosh darn, I'm going to spend $1 million because of that sign. I think it's one of these nice to haves, and the math has to math, and we're going to have to make the math work out for people to get that, to get things going. How much, when we look at, oh gosh, sidewalk replacement, $160,000. How much sidewalks does that cover?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on the width, it depends on the condition, it depends on, the linear feet. But Michelle, I know we did, it was like around 20 grand, and we did, wasn't it like maybe 1,000 linear feet?
Wow.
Along 7th Street. Remember, it actually came out of the social, a stretch was, we stepped in and did some. I'm trying to remember that. Does that sound about right?
It was for one block, the
Yeah.
full road, though, resurfacing, and it's about $750,000.
No, I'm sorry, the side, who's asking about
We
sidewalks?
repaired sidewalks.
Yeah, we repaired a section of sidewalk. I'm trying to remember.
I don't have that number in front of me.
Yeah, I guess it'd be interesting, like, before we agree on that would be like, how much does it cover? What blocks we doing? That kind of stuff. Because if we need sidewalks, I think sidewalks are cool, but I wouldn't want it to be like, oh, I didn't know it was, 12 feet.
There was a sidewalk done. It wasn't the whole sidewalk. It was,
It was a repair to a
repair because
sidewalk in
the,
front of someone's.
someone using a
Yeah, but-
motorized couldn't
Right.
get
Remember
the
that,
sidewalk.
Michelle?
But that was more recent. But earlier in the year, after the social, we did do like 1,000 linear feet.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was like 20 or 25, and it was up on 7th Street because it was further
Yeah.
north.
Well,
And so-
using that math, it'd be about 8,000 linear feet, which is a little over a mile and a quarter, 5,280 feet.
Yeah,
Wow.
so, and, I mean, you might end up doing like a 12 to 15 foot section, like depending, like if it's really damaged in front of around a corner, or like you see that happen a lot, where trucks will turn and crack up the curbs and the gutters and that.
And I
So,
just think if we could quantify like what that is at some point, we might go, oh my gosh, we should allocate more money to sidewalks. I'm not advocating for less, I'm saying we might feel empowered to do more. The solar lighting as an alternative, FPL used to put in lights on their own poles by request, you to pay for electricity. Lights is a deterrent from crime, and I'd be interested in seeing a plan for that, of like, here's where we're going to put them because of these things, and we're going to track the data, or here's an alternative from the solar lights. So I think solar lights sound super awesome, and the sidewalks sound super awesome. I just want to see more detail on what that actually would do.
okay.
That's my notes.
To your point about the branding campaign, there are signs that need to be replaced
Yeah.
there. And the thought behind the brand would be to look at that while we're replacing signs. And that's not going to be an expensive venture, as you well know.
I mean, I like the logo there. I mean, I'm a fan of replacing a few signs, or hiring someone like a real branding company. Like there's a few that work with cities. A real branding company's gonna be 25 grand for a logo. So we either go with, and I like the one we have, it's all a question of like, they're all good ideas. It's what's the priority. Replacing a sign, taking it down, I don't think it's gonna be, I mean, if you took that 25 grand, said, that would get a project done potentially, is my worry.
Well, I've had some requests about the logo. What does it
Yeah.
really represent when you look at Glenwood? You've got a tree, a boat, and so there's some questions about that.
Yeah.
Well, that was something that came up at the socials. So, all right, anything else for downtown North? Last but not least, downtown district.
We got an email from, is it
Downtown.
Catherine?
Yeah,
She's not
there
in
was an
here.
email that I forwarded earlier today that came from Ms. Shores, who is a member of the Downtown Improvement Board. Although did we get a letter of support from the DIB for this project?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and I was
Oh,
I was the chair of that.
Yeah.
And I think.
Well, that definitely calls into question. doesn't it?
Well, and I think these are all great. I mean, none of these are bad ideas. They're all great. Every single one of these is a killer idea. It's all a question of what do you do next. And so I was the chair of the DIB when we supported that. And so I would always say it's is this the next priority? And is there a better use of $105,000? I'm in favor of complementing a grant program with the Downtown Improvement Board, that they run the grant program. So if Catherine she wants help replacing outdoor furniture, and if she thinks the DIB is willing to contribute 50%, we could match that, let them run that program. But it's a question of, is $105,000 worth what's the priority? Jason Kretzer has reached out as well. Did everyone get that email from Jason? Jonathan, you sure?
I think that was kind of right at the end of the day. I don't know. I mean, I saw an email from him, but I did not open it based on the time.
So Bay Arts, Jason Kretzer, who's also the chair of the DIB, the Panama City Center for the Arts is half kind of gallery, half workshop space for artists to come in and teach classes. And they've years past have had a pottery studio, and electrical issues. And even with pottery studios, you have to dump the clay water out. They're using like storm drains, which you're not supposed to do. And you need a little outdoor area. And he pitched the idea of the DIB, Bay Arts Alliance, and the CRA coming together to build a building next to the McKenzie House, basically in the old driveway that's been removed, and creating a pottery studio, outdoor space for the rinsing of things, and then a little gallery, but also a working studio to complement the Panama City Center for the Arts. And so I love that idea too. He's talking about doing an artist in residency program, potentially an apartment above the top. Ocala did that to have artists. So they bring in an artist to teach his classes and give him free room and board for X weeks. And so to me, that sort of a building there, for one, it would be self-sustaining, and then two, potentially has a long-term value of, maybe it's a pottery studio for 30 years, but then it turns into something else. I don't know. I do like the digital directory stuff, but I would prefer pottery studio or some sort of built environment thing for the artist community.
I would just like to point out, I know it was mentioned in the PowerPoint, but, the marketing on the directory boards is expected to bring in about $30,000 a year in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would offset some of that $105,000. That's a year, so
Yeah.
it would pay for itself in 3 years.
Yeah, then I would ask, what's the life on the digital directories? Are they dead after you pay them?
Right.
They're ruined? Yeah.
Especially being like 5 blocks from the water.
Yeah, salt air.
Do you know what the
You have
life?
7-year warranty, expected life of 10 years.
Just
Better if we cover it.
And then the breezeway, I guess I don't quite understand how we've committed $500,000 over 3 years. I don't quite understand that.
So
Build it out ourselves.
in
To build it, so that, okay, that's if we go down that road.
Without a P3 or without selling it or anything.
Okay.
Because we were down the path of the CRA that's a city building, right? But the CRA was funding the project. So the CRA did the project to make the temporary pathway and improvements in fiscal year -- and then in '25 we budgeted $250,000 for the planning and future build. So we paid about $60,000 for the design. It's fully designed, the project that we were going to build out. And then once that design was complete is when we kind of started exploring different options with the RFP and brought us to where we are now. So until the CRA board decides to forego doing that CRA project, we didn't want to not fund it anymore and then this not work out with virtuous cycles, then there's no money there to do a project.
So potentially that'll not even roll over.
Correct.
Yes, I mean, the money that we're not spending anything on it now besides, I think, a little bit on, Wi-Fi for the music, or, we did have cameras installed and we are playing music in there to keep people moving.
Yeah, what I'd love to see too, with all these districts that have these sort of working partnerships, DIB, waterfront partnership type stuff. And we've been, in the past couple of years, the city's been really good about coming to DIB meetings, but I'd love these ideas pitched to the DIB. The digital directories have been, but not in encapsulation of all the other projects. And so getting their feedback we should be absolutely in line with what they want. And they should fully understand what our roadmap is as well, because they answer a lot of times for how we spend our money. And so they should be able to say, I know exactly what the CRA is working on because we all decided together. And so that's the way I'd like to approach both those districts.
So I'm not a big fan of the digital signs, and I'm a digital guy. I love digital things. But I think, and I've been trying to think of how do I word this. Downtown is becoming something special, and I think it's something that, that I'd like to see happen elsewhere. But one of the things that I don't want to see is bright lights. Right? Like visual assault. Right? Yeah, like what we have right now on the Martin Theater is way too bright, in my opinion. And I'd rather see it be moved to something like split flipboard rather than, so that'd be pretty neat, right? And rather than, or just like the old timey display. But I'm not suggesting that we go change the Martin Theater right now. Obviously it's under construction, but I don't want to add something else to downtown that would be just as visually invasive, if that makes sense.
Keep it dull.
Yeah. Downtown in the dark.
I did want to add that potentially.
Let Mr. Street, he had his.
Oh, 1 second. I did, because he's not here, he's in the mountains. I did want to add that potentially none of these projects downtown happen because we might need every penny we have to make Panama Grammar math, right? We might need to get every penny we can gather together to help a developer get the Panama Grammar.
That's not downtown.
That's not in the downtown CRA?
I guess
Where is
downtown north.
Dang, it's downtown north.
Let's get our map out.
Yeah, pull the map. I know it's in the DIB district.
So
You're about that.
I don't think it
Your
goes
dividing
over.
line is Business 98, 6th Street.
Hold on, we're gonna pull it up. I might be wrong. Let's see.
Can Josh tell me what he's doing?
Yes.
Go ahead, Josh, or I'm sorry, Mr. Street.
It's 12.
Sarah. Says is it north? Yes, it is in downtown. And in the DIB. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Josh. And confirming that Panama Grammar is in the DIB district and downtown.
It is, just barely. So,
Just barely.
yeah, that's almost as crazy as forgetting you made 10 logos.
He thought he was wrong once. He was just mistaken.
He was wrong on the logo.
2005, wrong.
All right, any other comments or conversations about the projects? Hearing none, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Oh, Mr. Granger lost it. All right,
Man,
please call the
stealing it
roll.
from me.
Board Member Lucas.
Guess I got caught sleeping.
Board Member Granger.
Oh, Nick and
Yeah, that was my thing. Yes. Oh,
Chairman
I
Branch.
should say no. Yes or no?
Chairman Branch.
Yes.
I'm taking your vote.
Yes. I guess it was
Motion passes 3-0.
Meeting adjourned.